Hi, quick impromptu video, not scheduled as such for this afternoon, but I think whilst I have a little bit of time, let's use it as productively as possible. I want to issue this public warning relating to an organization, well, not even an organization, a swindler, a fraudster that operates on Facebook these days, which is called Justice League Africa. It presents itself as a non-profit organization, but then advertises its services, if you want, as to be those that would fall within the investigation / close protection / security industry. Okay. The public warning comes on the back of the following. The security industry in South Africa is highly regulated. There's a specific reason, and I think we all realize why it should be. Exactly for the reason of keeping fly-by-nights and swindlers out of the system. Just to give you an idea, a person that registers himself or practices as a locksmith, and especially those that opens locks, must be registered with BSIRA. BSIRA being the body in South Africa where all security companies and all security operatives must register. If they are not registered by law, they commit a crime, and beyond that, they are also guilty of common law fraud, because they are pretending to be something or offering a service that they are by law not allowed to. Now, Justice League Africa. Now, the moment you hear Justice League, it rings a bell, and I think it was chosen for a specific reason, that name. Just to ring a bell in the back of your mind, Justice League is actually cartoon characters, and they were a host of cartoon movies, well, not cartoon movies, science fiction / fantasy world movies. People running around and shooting lasers and falling out of the sky and being superheroes. So I think it was chosen to create that little bit of recognition in the mind of the victim, so that they could think that there is something here that's legal, that's actual. On its page, it says it's a non-profit organization, NPO. Now, an NPO, by its very nature, must be registered, amongst others by the CIPC, where all companies in South Africa needs to be registered. But the non-profit organization is an organization that operates on a certain specific premise, and that is, it is non-profit, meaning that it's a charity. And there are extremely strict rules relating to the funding and the receival and the spending of funding of non-profit organization NPOs. Why? Because the company is not run for profit, in other words, for the benefit of its owners. It is run as a non-profit organization on behalf of the public. So the money in the coffers of a non-profit organization are, by its very definition, public funds. Now, if something is publicly funded, of course, the public has a duty and the right to then inquire as to what goes on in the books of that company. Okay. A very known child's advocate, whatever you call it, activist, recently received a request from myself to have their books opened so that I can see what goes on in their books. Not that I suspect that there is something going on. There has just been so many tip-offs to me that I see it as my duty now. They're operated as a non-profit organization, and immediately after I made the request, they indeed started to make arrangements for me to open their books for me to see what's going on there. So that is what a non-profit organization is. Now the question comes up, can you be a security officer or a security operative and a NPO? Yes, in very, very small instances or very small frame of operations, you can actually do that. Buurtwagte, citizens guards in the suburbs can, for instance, be non-profit organizations. Why? Because the members contribute a very small amount, and that amount is usually used in benefit, to the benefit of the community. So technically, a buurtwag can be a non-profit organization, also acting then in a role of what can be seen as security. Although we all know that the buurtwag can't, for instance, intervene when they observe something. They must immediately inform a real security company registered with BESIRA or the police, and or to then come to the scene of the possible crime, and it is then given over to those real policemen and real security officers. Now back to Justice League Africa. Now, we did a thorough search on this entity, as well as its owner, as well as certain family members, and we could not find any organization or company registered with CIPC or anybody else, any body, statutory body in South Africa beyond CIPC, that is called Justice League Africa. So in terms of non-profit organization or the status they claim, that is simply not true. It's a lie. And if they receive money in any way, they would then commit an act of fraud. You must remember this now. Secondly, we also approached BESIRA and showed them various of the Facebook page postings where the services of this organization, and I use the term now very loosely, is advertised. Then they went to their books to go and look for this entity, because this entity is very clearly operating within the scope of the BESIRA legislation, and they could not find anybody registered, either the owner, any extended family member of his, or this organization. So in other words, at CIPC, where companies are registered, it's a non-entity, it doesn't exist. With BESIRA, it's a non-entity, it doesn't exist. Okay. Then we also asked the CIPC to go and do a search amongst its for-profit companies to see maybe there is a company and they are just simply using another name, which could happen. And once again, nothing turned up. Zero, zilch, nothing. A thorough search was done on the criminal record of the owner. Now, this is not slander, but a thorough search was done, and it was found that he indeed has a criminal record, and quite an extensive one, which was also brought to the attention of BESIRA. And they immediately indicated that if a person was found guilty of the particular crimes, and I'm not going to divulge them, it's not needed, but if you were found guilty previously of these crimes, you would not be registered with them as an operator of any kind. Now, what is this organization then? This organization purports to be a massive organization, and I'm going to read to you what is said here. It claims to not only have this investigation slash security division, it claims to be quite massive, quite powerful, basically national, not only in a little, a whole panel of attorneys that works for it. I'm aware, and we actually did background checks on this too, I'm aware of one attorney's firm, and they are actually assisting their client, which is attached in another way to this organization. So it's not a panel of attorneys, that's also not And we're back. You really think you're going to take me off air that easy? It goes on to say the following. It says, it's looking for the following people to become part of its team. You know, that non-existing team. It says, judges. Really? Retired judges? Magistrates. Now, magistrates are paid by the Department of Labor, Department of Justice. I think they will be interested in this. Prosecutors. Prosecutor is an advocate working for the state and paid by the National Prosecuting Authority. Advocates. Attorneys. Criminologists. Investigators. Cybercrimes specialists. Do you even have an idea how much these people cost per hour? It's more than most probably this owner has earned in his life, that you would have to pay for one of these specialists for a day. Goes on. Psychiatrists, psychologists, behavioral profilers. That is when you try to catch criminals, serial criminals, serial killers. There's only a handful of those in South Africa, by the way. Bankers. So it obviously means these guys are seeing themselves, or this organization seeing itself, investigating high crimes, high economic crime in the banking industry. Really? Economists, veterans. Why always go to the guys who already gave everything they could for this country to give credibility to yourself? Correctional officers. Now it goes into the prisons. Sponsors who can provide skills, knowledge, expertise to subjugate all forms of criminality. But whoever runs this organization, which is not registered anywhere, and seemingly is acting fraudulently, wants to catch criminals. Now, don't you find that extremely ironic? Okay, why am I doing this video? For close on a year and a half, nearly 2 years, we have actually been running an operation on various of these operators. Not only this one. There's about 20-25 of these being operated countrywide, giving the impression that they are security operatives, and they can therefore charge money for certain services. I was approached by the owner of this company, and I have it in writing, to act as my personal bodyguard for 2,500 rand per day. My wife was offered certain services at a certain price by the owner of this company, falling within the realms of the security industry. On paper, in writing. It continues to this day to operate and to create the impression that it's legit. It can do what it purports, it says it can do. And here's my public warning. Please do not spend money on this entity. In your area and through Persera, you can get the best of the best pertaining to personal protection, security, investigation, and everything else relating to the security industry. Do not pay fly-by-nights who's not registered anywhere a cent of money in the security industry. What's happening here is clear and simple fraud. Dockets have been opened, and still more dockets are going to be opened next week pertaining to this. We actually had a confession today, an admission of guilt as to the status of this organization. And I will not rest. We're back. I will not rest until this perpetrator is brought to book and brought to justice. I think we're running in South Africa so many of these schemes, and unfortunately hapless victims who cannot for themselves see that they are being caught wholesale by scams and schemes like this. And therefore I see it as my public duty to rid our society of people like this. If you need to report a crime and you have problems at the local police services, which we know you're going to have, unfortunately our police services really struggles to perform their public mandate. And I'm not going to go into the politics about that now on this video. Then go to Pesira or go to a security company and go and ask for help there. A proper one, a real one registered with a number at Pesira. It's always interesting to me when a person accuses you of a certain crime or a certain wrongdoing, that usually that person is the one busy with it. In Afrikaans sê ons, as iemand vir jou van iets beskuldig, dan staan hulle gewoonlik self agter die deur. And I've seen that so often in my life. Everybody is aware of all the nonsense stories that's being spread around on Facebook about me. I'm aware that people tried to make police cases, actual criminal cases, open actual criminal dockets against me, and the police laughed them off. Right? But it triggered me. This investigation I spoke about previously did not focus on the specific organization or ancillary to it. It was a general one. But because of this behavior, it became apparent to me that further investigation is needed. So here's the thing. If Skull for some reason calls you up and says, I want to see this and that and the following, it is because there's good reason why. If I want to see what's going on in your books, there's a good reason why. Because I know that there is something wrong. I won't hassle you just simply to make news out of it. A lot of things happen behind the scenes. You don't know me, you don't know where I fit in, you don't know to who I answer. And I say that in the most positive of ways. We're the good guys. And by God, is it nice to take out the bad guys. And I won't stop. Skalk van der Merwe signing off. Welcome to my world.